All right, so I thought this week we'd try a little drawing of this eagle, this portrait of an eagle. And we're going to focus mostly up here. And we're just going to really just try to work with the values. So just to get that additional practice in. Now you could clearly see from this photograph that the light source has to be coming from this area here, because we can clearly see all of this area here and this side of the beak. They're all in highlight, and everything on this side here is in shadow. And the brow is cast in a shadow here, and it's cast in a shadow here. And we might do a little bit of the shoulder, but really what I want to focus on is up here. Okay, so let's go ahead and start off with a simple drawing, and then we'll focus in on shading. Alright, so back to working on the eye. You'll notice that on the photograph, this right here is actually, this is feathers, so we can't see that ring right here. So when we do this dark ring here, we need to stop it right about there. And then for the golden part of the eyes, right, that's a light value and not white. So I'm just going to radiate from the center, and I'm going to leave the catch light open, and I'll probably, in all likelihood, I'll have to go in there with my kneaded eraser and pull some of that out, because it is a little dirty. Okay. Now, this brow is casting a shadow on the eye. So, because it protrudes, right? So brow sticks out. Therefore, it's going to cast a shadow right there. And then it gets softer as it comes this way. So here, this is much softer. But here, it's pretty dark. Not pure black, but pretty dark. Just like so. Okay? Now, there's also a shadow on this side a little bit. Right about there. Because again, the brow sticks out. And anything that protrudes out, it's going to cast a shadow underneath it. So that eye kind of looks like that. The other eye, it's not going to be as bright because all of this is in shadow. So I'm going to start off similarly, and you notice that the catch light is not in the same spot as this one. And we'll pull that one out. Now we kind of lost that one, so we'll pull that one out a little bit here. And then on this side, the ring, that dark ring that goes around the eyeball, stops right about there. And then I'm going to do similar to what I did on this side with the spokes coming from the center, but they have to be darker because everything on this side is in shadow, including these feathers. So like when I cast the shadow here, I'm going to continue this. All of this will be in shadow. And see that catch light right now looks super bright, and we don't want it that bright, so we're actually going to soften that up a little bit too. So even though we know that the eagle, the bald eagle, has a white head, because of the way that the light is hitting it, it's not going to be pure white everywhere. You have to create your shadows. So I'm going to do the top, and I'm going to do the beak, and then I'm going to time lapse through the rest. But all of this will be in shadow. Most everything on this side will be in highlight, and then there's some transitions. So like, for example, this whole area is not completely white. That white area is roughly right here. And then it gradually, as it goes this way, it's going to gradually get darker, right? So I'm going to turn my paper this way, and I'm going to start to bring up those feathers. Now I'm not trying to create like a perfect pattern or a perfect line. So I didn't draw a line. I just need to know more or less where those shadows are going to start changing. And because this, this is all like feathers, I'm going to use my pencil, and I'm going to go in the direction that the feathers are flowing. Well, that looks pretty good. Now, we still need to soften this up. So I can take my pencil and go over this whole thing just a little bit. And you can see now that catch shadow, or excuse me, the catch light is actually much softer. It's not as bright. And then there's this, strengthen up the shadow a little bit here. And comes out this way a little bit more. Okay. All right. I'm going to move on to the beak. Now the beak, it's really a cylinder. So it's doing this. I'm going to lightly put this in. It's going this way on this side, and it's going this way on this side. Just like that, right? Including when we get here. So this center line is actually my pivot point right there. So it's going to go up, then down, up, down. Everything on this side will be on the shadow side. The catch, or the highlight, is actually not on the far left, but closer to the center line, but not on the center line. So it's about here. Now, because the beak is a yellowish color, which is slightly darker than white, then when we do the shadows, they have to be darker than the ones that we did on the white, but not super dark. So I'm going to start with this part right here. And again, I'm going to start with my mid-tone here. Leave this area here. That's going to be where my catch light is, right there, or my highlight. And then a soft shadow here. And this is coming down, so there's a little bit of a light here. We'll pull that back out with the kneaded eraser. And then this, which is to the right of the beak, got darker again. So, and then where the nostril is, it's the darkest point right there. So now we're going to make this even darker. We want to separate the front part of the beak from this back area. There is a little bit of white markings on them. They're pure white, so I'll pull some of those out with the kneaded eraser. Now where the upper and lower beak meet, there's a deep shadow right there. And then a soft shadow above it, and a soft shadow below it. On the opposite side, since it's facing the light, everything is brighter. Even the nostril looks brighter. And there's a soft shadow here. There's actually a shadow here where the feathers are. that helps separate this here. This should be slightly darker. This a little bit darker. And then the center of the mouth on this side also has to be darker. And from the angle of the photograph, we can actually see this little part right here, more so on this side than on the other side. And then there's a shadow underneath that. And then it gets bright, and then all of this is casting a shadow on the feathers down here. So all of this right here. All right. I'm going to use my kneaded eraser to pull a little highlight. There's a little highlight here. Get rid of those little lines that I put in there to show you guys. There's a little bit of a highlight here next to the nostril. Okay. So now I'm just going to keep going. This whole area right here has got a soft shadow. There is a soft shadow here, very soft here. Again, everything on this side is on the lit side, so it's not going to be dark. You can see a little bit of a shadow here, not much. All right, and then here, some of this has been washed out from the photograph, but we know that these shadows are, that these feathers, they're kind of like stacked on top of each other. So I'm going to suggest where some of these feathers might be overlapping just a little bit, just so that we don't have so much white on this side. And then here, once we get down, this is too curved here, we can see a little bit of a shadow here. And then on this side, as they come away from this area here, they're still darker than the ones on that side, but not as dark. So I'm going to continue this way. And I'm breaking up this line right here so it doesn't look, so this suggests texture there. So I'm not doing like a straight line. This is too bright here, so I'm going to keep building this up. And here and there, I'm just going to suggest where there might be some feathers. Remember, these are the insulation feathers, so they're not nearly as big as the feathers that you would see on the wings. All right. I'm going to darken this up just a little bit and then go back and fine tune, and we'll call this one done. All right. So we just about got this thing finished. We just got a few little things to do. So the catch light on his right eye, we can't see it anymore. So I'm going to pull that out. So I'm going to use my kneaded eraser and try to brighten that up a little bit. And yes, the catch light does go a little bit into the pupil. So I have to refine that a little bit. And then a little shadow behind it. just to kind of like fine tune it. There we go, that looks better. I think the pupil on this side needs to be a little stronger. You'll notice that I don't outline when I'm shading. That's usually a problem because it's super easy to make it look like a line drawing if you outline. Now here we can see an outline, so we're just talking about that. So I'm just going to soften that up, get rid of most of it, and then replace it with some shading. We also have to put in the marks for the beak, because he does have some white areas on the beak. And a few little feathers here going in this direction. There's more feathers going around here. We can see those a little bit. And you could take this to whatever level you want. So I'm not going to go photorealistic, not for this video, but I do want to make sure that we can actually see the shadows and the highlights and how they're being affected by the lights. All right, I think we're going to call this one done, otherwise I'll get carried away. But hopefully this makes sense, because when you look at the world around us, really we don't see outlines around stuff. What we see is contrasts between things, differences between things. Whether it's color, whether it's shading, whether it's value, whatever it is, that's what allows us to see separation. And that's really all we were trying to do in this video. Alright, so let me know what you think in the comments, and if you liked the video, give it a like, share, and I will see you on the next one.